Hello language learners! Using YouTube to learn a language it's pretty accessible. Obviously you're already on YouTube, but especially with Chrome extensions like Language Learning with YouTube and with Caption Pop, links below in the description for more information on that because those are super helpful. But thanks to those extensions and just like the sheer internationalism, that's a word, of YouTube, language learners have a lot to gain. However, a lot of language learners get really surprised when they learn vocabulary and then they go onto YouTube and try to listen to the language that they're learning and they can't, because listening comprehension is a skill that you have to develop all on its own. So how do you do that? If you go on YouTube and you look for videos that are spoken in the language that you're learning, but you can't understand them, and then you just get frustrated. It feels like a waste of time, and it probably is. If you can't comprehend a good amount of what you're listening to, what are you supposed to do? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly that. I'm going to give you some examples of specific kinds of YouTube videos that you should be looking up depending on your level of listening comprehension. So beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This will hopefully help you have a, better idea of where to set your expectations, because if you're at a beginner level in Spanish and you try to watch a vlogger in Spanish, it's just gonna be real frustrating. You're not gonna know what's going on, and a lot of people don't expect that. So for each level, I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 different ideas of kinds of videos to look for based on where, loosely what level of comprehension you might need. Let's start with beginners. Now, beginners, not only is your comprehension, obviously beginner, but you also don't have a lot of grammar or vocabulary. So there's gonna be a lot of vocabulary and a lot of sentences and a lot of topics that even if you had the comprehension, you're just not gonna be able to understand. So we gotta start small. The first type of YouTube video is the most obvious, and it's creators on YouTube who create videos specifically for beginner language learners. So if you look up like beginner and the language that you're learning, hopefully you'll find a bunch of creators who create videos to teach you about grammar concepts and vocabulary and stuff like that. They'll create videos that are purposely slow and clear and, depending on the language, could have a more neutral accent, like for example Spanish. They'll have more neutral Latin American Spanish, so it's easier to understand across different kinds of knowledge. But you're basically looking for videos that are talking about basic A1, A0 grammar concepts or vocabulary, because they'll hopefully be speaking in the language in order to help boost your listening comprehension. Or if nonfiction isn't your speed, cartoons and fairy tales. Look up something like Cinderella, look up Snow White, look up, Pocahontas in the language that you're learning. These are very common stories that are meant for younger ears, so the vocabulary isn't too intense. It's going to be slow and intentionally clear for like younger listeners who are also learning their native language. Plus, you already know these stories, or if you don't, it's easy enough to just listen to them real quick in your native language. So it's easy to both use the information that you already have to figure out contextually what's going on, and also listen to these like purposely slow and clear words and sentences and stuff like that. Also, cartoons and fairy tales are generally pretty short, so 10 to 15 minutes, you're solid. Also, one last tip for beginners, especially beginner Spanish language learners: Extra en Español. If you look that up on YouTube, it's a little mini series meant specifically for beginner Spanish language learners, like beginner. That's a good way to start upping your comprehension. It's based on like A1 vocabulary and hello, my name is, and I work here and I live here and all that kind of stuff. Next up is intermediate. So with intermediate learners, you not only have some more grammar and vocabulary to work with, you can get a much better idea of most any situation, but also if your listening comprehension level is up to an intermediate level, you can also understand a whole lot more, and listening to things like fairy tales or beginner stuff is going to be pretty boring to you. But at the same time, if you turn on Netflix or something and you watch like an adult show, not adult like X-rated, but adult like just not for kids, it's gonna be the exact opposite effect. You're still not gonna understand anything, you're still gonna be lost. So What do you watch? I have 2 recommendations for intermediate language learners who are using YouTube to improve their listening comprehension. The first tip I have is to look up something that interests you and learn about that subject in the language that you're learning. So for example, if you're interested in cooking, you watch a lot of cooking shows, look up cooking in the language that you're learning. Not only is this jargon and context that's really interesting to you and words that you use in your everyday life, but with cooking, for example, you'll learn how to cook traditional, authentic food from the culture that you're learning. Whatever the subject is, this is a great way to learn about a subject that you already know that you find interesting and keep it in your wheelhouse and learning how to express yourself talking about subjects that you find interesting. So if later on you go on Verbling or italki and you're talking to a tutor on there, you have something that you can talk about and you already have the vocabulary that you need to express yourself. You're not only building your comprehension and your vocabulary, but you're also finding ways to create knowledge to use elsewhere. Similar to that is my second option for intermediate learners, and that is to find audiobooks for books that you like. It's easiest to find international books like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, stuff like that are translated into hundreds of different languages. Find an audiobook for that if you've already read the books and just listen to the audio recording or the audiobook. If you're already familiar with the story, again, it'll be easy enough to figure out different grammar structures and vocab through context, and you already know that you like it, so you won't get bored. And just like finding videos based on your interests, you can also use this to read along. I mean, I have the Hunger Games in Spanish, and I like to use the Hunger Games audiobooks on YouTube to listen as I read, and this can really help formulate your skills and build up on multiple language skills at once. And finally, we have advanced. Once you get to advanced, it's a lot easier because you're not limited so much as to how much you can comprehend and what the subject of the video is, and if you're gonna know the vocabulary and whatnot. Once you get to that level, it's pretty much whatever you wanna watch, but nonetheless, I still have 3 ideas for you to up your advanced listening comprehension on YouTube. The first one is interviews with celebrities and artists and stuff like that that you enjoy, especially if you follow actors or celebrities that have anything to do with the arts from your target language or your target culture. This is a great way to get to know the culture more and get more involved in the culture. With these interviews, the celebrities, the actors, the artists, the musicians, these people will be speaking at a native speed with native vocabulary, native jargon. It's pretty much as real as it gets. And you know, when you're at that advanced comprehension level, you really need it to be realistic to learn that real jargon, real phrases, stuff that you're not gonna learn in a textbook. Next up, we have music. Music is really hard because musicians can take a lot of creative liberties. I have a whole video linked below in the description about different apps that you can use to find music in foreign languages to learn with. But with music, not only do a lot of the phrasings not make logical sense, they only make creative sense, but the pronunciation is really, really flexible. So that is a really good challenge. If you want to challenge your listening comprehension skills, definitely listen to music. And finally, similar to the first one, watching interviews from celebrities and stuff like that, foreign language vlogs. There are so many vloggers on YouTube. Holy crap, vlogging has become like the thing, the it on YouTube. And if you can find one that you like that speaks the language that you're learning natively, that's perfect. Listen to them talk, listen to the kinds of things that they say, watch their everyday life, see what kinds of things they do every day, the things they eat every day. Again, this is a great way to not only practice your listening comprehension and understanding things at a real life native level, but it's also a really great look into a different culture. That's hard to find unless you actually go abroad. But at the same time, for that level of native understanding, you need to be advanced for sure. So those are my tips for beginning, intermediate, and advanced. I mean, they're pretty general. Don't, look at this like a rule book. These are just some ideas to get you started, pointed in the right direction generally, because I know a lot of people get so frustrated when they start out learning a language and then they go into something that they don't understand at all, and it's very frustrating. If you use YouTube to work on your listening comprehension, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what kind of genre, what kind of type of videos you like to watch. I'll maybe give somebody else some more ideas to improve their listening comprehension in a way that's interesting to them, because that's important. But that is all I have for this video. Remember, you can find me every other Monday at my blog at crashculture.com, every Wednesday and Sunday right here on YouTube, and in my Facebook group at crashculture.com/community. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.